Today. And I am also the patron of the Edmonton Garrison Military Family Resource Center, and tonight I am thrilled to be your MC. As we get underway this evening, I want to acknowledge Ottawa is built on unceded Anishinaabe Algonquin territory. The peoples of the Anishinaabe Algonquin Nation have lived on this territory for millennia. Their culture and presence have nurtured and continue to nurture this land. The City of Ottawa honors the peoples and land of the Anishinaabe Algonquin Nation. The City of Ottawa honors all First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples and their valuable past and present contributions to this land. A few housekeeping items as we get underway this evening. The restrooms are located back which way you came in. There's one to the right and then further out to the right. Well, the smokers, you know where to go. Just back out the front doors again. Lots of fresh air out of there. And just a reminder that we are in a museum this evening, so please do not touch the artifacts or displays, even if you have touched one of them before and know what you are doing. Pilots, yeah, I'm talking to you. So please, just a reminder that this is a museum. It is wonderful to see so many familiar faces in the crowd, so many of our supporters of Veterans House Canada, including the Honourable Jill McKnight, the Minister of Veterans Affairs and Associate Minister of National Defence. Minister McKnight, there you are. Nice to see you again. The Honourable Mona Fortier, the MP for Vanier, Ottawa, Vanier, Gloucester, and the Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Foreign Affairs. There you are. Ralston King, the City Councillor for Ward 13, Rito Rockcliffe. I did see. Oh, he was here. He dropped in quickly and then had to leave. It was nice to see him. And City Councillor for Ward 3, Barrhaven West, David Hill, we are expecting this evening. So thank you all for joining us tonight. I have to tell you, we are thrilled to have the National Capital Region RCMP Pipes and Drums and Highland Dancers with us tonight. Please join me in welcoming to the front of the stage as they kick off tonight's celebration.
Ready? Roll. Wait. Mark. Ready, roll, wait, mark.
Applause for the pipes and drums and the dancers. Brilliant. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight is about more than a milestone. It is about a mission. 5 years ago, Veterans House Canada opened quietly. It was during COVID. There was no grand opening, there was no fanfare, but critical work was already underway. Tonight, we are celebrating not just a building, but a community. A lot of this would not have been possible without the extraordinary generosity of so many donors. Please take time this evening to visit the donor wall at the entrance so we can acknowledge the huge number of organizations and individuals who have made Veterans House Canada possible. Tonight would not be possible without the significant support of the Commissionaires. Please welcome Michel Charon, the CEO of Commissionaires Ottawa, to the podium to say a few words.
Good evening, everyone. It's a privilege. On behalf of Commissioners Ottawa, I want to thank Veterans House Canada for bringing us together tonight and for the important work you continue to lead in support of veterans who are at risk of or experiencing homelessness. Commissioners Ottawa is proud to sponsor this evening. But more than that, we are proud to stand with this community, the donors, partners, leaders, advocates, supporters who helped make the Carswell building possible and who continue to believe that every veteran deserves safety, dignity, stability, and belonging. For Commissioners Ottawa, this work is deeply connected to who we are. Our organization was created with a clear social mandate to support veterans through meaningful employment, dignity, opportunity, and connection to community. That mandate is not simply part of our history. It is the foundation of our very purpose today. For more than a century, Commissionaires has provided meaningful work to veterans and those connected to service. We are proud to be Canada's largest employer of veterans, but we know that supporting veterans cannot begin and end with employment. Veteran support must reflect the full veteran journey. It must include work and purpose, but it must also include housing, health, family stability, transition support, crisis response, long-term care, recognition, and community connections. That is why our support to Veterans House Canada and for the Andy Carswell building matters so much to us. The Andy Carswell building represents more than housing. It represents a promise kept. It is a visible, lasting reminder that veterans who have served Canada should never be left without a safe place to call home. Veteran homelessness is one of the most urgent and unacceptable challenge facing the veteran community today. No one who has worn the uniform in service to Canada should find themselves without stability, support, or dignity. Veterans House Canada has created permanent, affordable, and supportive housing tailored to veterans' unique needs. You have created a place where veterans are not only housed, but also supported. A place where people can rebuild stability, reconnect with community, and move forward with dignity. That is exactly the kind of work Commissioners Ottawa is proud to support. As a sponsor from the very beginning, our role is not simply to lend our name to another evening like this one, but it is to invest in work that aligns directly with our social mandate. It is to stand beside partners who are addressing real needs in the veteran community and improving lives in practical, lasting ways. As was mentioned earlier, tonight we celebrate 5 years of impact. We recognize the founding donors and community leaders who helped turn this vision into reality. We thank the partners who continue to sustain it. And most importantly, we honor the veterans whose lives have been touched by this work. As we mark this milestone, we also look ahead. The need for long-term support remains. The work is far from being finished. But the Andy Carswell building reminds us that progress is possible when a community comes together with purpose. So Commissioners, Ottawa is proud to continue playing our part. We are proud to sponsor this evening, proud to support Veterans House Canada, and proud to stand with all of you in support of Canada's veterans. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. It is now my honor to invite Brigadier General Retired Alan Malawishan, the Executive Director of Veterans House Canada, to the podium to share some remarks. Melly.
Thanks so much, Jaylin. Now I've got to put the old man things on here. So once again, thanks, Jaylin, and good evening, everybody. Bienvenue à vous tous. Bienvenue dans ce merveilleux musée. What a place to hold an event like tonight. I won't repeat Jaylin's welcomes other than to say to Minister McKnight and MP Fortier, thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy schedules to be with her today. It is very important and meaningful, and as we move forward, and appreciate you being here. There's actually one organization I want to point out right now, and that is Multi-Faith Housing Initiative, or MHI. Without the vision, the courage, and the conviction of MHI, there would be no Andy Carswell building, there would be no Veterans House Canada. This is not a celebration about VHC, this is a celebration about MHI. It's unfortunate that, Suzanne's not able to join us, but she will virtually in a sec. But really, this is VHC's way of saying thank you to MHI. So we threw you a party. I want to recognize everybody here who was part of that original beginning. So we've got the current ED, Al, thank you for being here tonight. But if I could ask just everybody that was involved in the early days with the MHI, be it board, committee, staff, would you please just stand up, put your hands up. Come on now, you got to say hi to I know you're here. There we go. Some of the board members are. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for placing your trust in us. You gave up your baby to a toddler, and we're doing okay. But again, it took a leap of faith, of multi-faith, to do this, and we thank you for that. However, buildings don't, go up by themselves. There needs to be a team in around, a team of architects here from CSV, the general contractor from McDonald Brothers, and even lawyers, sadly, but with BLG, they're great. Is there anybody from BLG, from CSV, or from McDonald Brothers here? Put up your hand. What a job you guys did. I mean, the building still looks great. But it's more than just a building, and I think that's what's important. Without the staff, the wraparound support, those dedicated people that work with our veterans day in, day out, it would just be an apartment building. So again, I recognize a couple of people here. So first of all, where's Barb and Laurie? So Barb Matthew, Laurie Simpson. So from Salis and from Laurie's LS Management. So Barb and Laurie have been here since day one. So thank you so much, Barb and Laurie. And then because, you know, they needed to be reinforcements, we also then had Frank on the team and Wayne on the team. Where's Frank and Wayne? In the corner there. Where's Frank? Oh, there we go. It's pretty easy sitting in the office in the headquarters all day making decisions, but the people with the really tough job are these four who day to day are working with our veterans. And there are some great days, and sadly there's some sad days too. But I always think of two words to describe these four people, and that is passionate and compassionate. And my hat goes off to them with my thanks to all that you do at the Andy Carswell building. Also, these events don't organize themselves. Like I sure the heck didn't do this. So a special thanks to the organizing committee, the VHC staff, and a special thanks goes to the heavy lifting by Amanda and Elizabeth. You want to put up your hands, Amanda? I think they did a pretty good job. Et je voudrais conclure en remerciement une fois de plus les commissionnaires d'Ottawa. Not only were you a major contributor for the construction of the Andy Carswell building, once again so generously sponsored tonight. Merci, Michel. As Jalen mentioned, it's hard to believe it's 5 years because we never held a grand opening. You know, February 2021, a very cold day, first tenant moved in to the Andy Carswell building in the middle of COVID. It was tough to get supports. It was tough to maintain, but give all the credit to Barb and Laurie, they made it work. And here we are 5 years later. But as I like to say though, although it is overdue, are obviously very thrilled that you're here and we can celebrate tonight, and thank you for being here.
Thanks, Alan. I'd now like to, well, and before I invite our next speaker up, Molly, your leadership, your dedication, your commitment to Veterans House Canada is incredible. Thank you for all that you have done during your term as Executive Director. Thank you so much. Captain Navy retired Mark Eldridge is the outgoing president of Veterans House Canada. Mark, come on up, say a few words. Where did you go? There he is.
The danger in being third in the order of march, you have no idea what the others have said. So consequently, they didn't give me any guidance at all, so I'm going to say whatever the heck I want. Bonsoir à tous et bienvenue. Merci d'être ici avec nous autres pour cette célébration. Donc, I want to tell you a story. I'm going to tell you the short story because the long story makes my eyes leak and I can't read my notes. And then I'll go on and on and on. So I'm going to tell you the short story. The short story starts in December of 2012. My staff officer, Captain Vicki Ryan, came to me and she said, "Did you know that there are homeless veterans downtown in Ottawa?" Well, of course I didn't. Nobody did. Nobody asked the question. Nobody seemed to care. Not only that, what she did with it afterwards led to the formation of something called Soldiers Helping Soldiers. Mon Général Stubers knows some more about that certainly than I do, but Soldiers Helping Soldiers kicked off a series of actions and a series of activities that ultimately led to a bit of a conference on veterans homelessness arranged by Councillor Steve Desroches, who sadly is not able to be with us tonight. But at that briefing where I spoke to this issue of homeless veterans in the downtown, I met Suzanne Lee. And that's where I learned about her idea of building a veterans-only affordable housing site at the old RCAF Rockcliffe base. The concept that there were homeless veterans in Ottawa was so foreign to everybody that we got absolutely no attention from anybody. Doors were closed in our face. People didn't want to believe it. Inside and outside of government, they didn't want to believe that there were homeless veterans. They didn't want to believe they were there in that numbers. And for God, they did not want to believe that they were on the street in the National Capital Region. We were repeatedly rebuffed, but those of you who met Suzanne Lee or will meet Suzanne Lee know that she's a force of nature. But it still took 8 years from the concept to the opening the doors to the first homeless veteran in 2021. Renting up, as already been said, renting up and running supportive housing in the middle of a pandemic, to put it mildly, is a challenge. But that followed with a spin-off of our freestanding charity named Veterans House Canada, with a mission to build 4 more similar buildings by 2030. We grew from those small beginnings, due in part to the strong vision and leadership of our original president, Neil Rayner. Neil. It's been said once already, but it needs to be said again. The extraordinary work ethic of Ellen, aka Mully Mulliwishin, who was an army of one for far too long, and who brought us to where we are now, leading a marvelous team both in the main office and at the Andy Carswell building, and indeed also in Edmonton now. And of course, all of my fellow directors, whose clarity of vision and willingness to put their shoulder to the wheel continues to provide us ethical and grounded governance. So here we are today with 5 years of success behind us, 80 tenants who've benefited from their time with us, and the second building in Edmonton ready to receive by the end of 2026. And it's neck and neck. I'll take bets later as to whether Halifax or Toronto comes next, and then it's on to Victoria. The common thread of thought would have you believe that we live in a world increasingly drawn to selfishness, fragmentation, and withdrawal, and that speaking the truth, I'm going to do it. Speaking the truth is not acceptable enough. But in this room tonight, look around yourself. We are assembled as a group of people who don't believe that. We reject that. People who see the worth of one another and in the other. People who give of their effort and their treasure to see the right thing done. Can you tell? I am deeply affected by the depth and by the endurance of your individual and your collective commitment to those among us who've fallen to the side and need an extended hand to rise back up again and rejoin society and get their lives back on track. Some of you have been motivated to donate far more than others. And the Carswell family, and Colin is here tonight representing his father. They've enabled, and you have enabled us to do so much. Every single dollar, every single hour that you've spent painting or driving or contributing is a material contribution to our mission, helping homeless veterans build a better future by providing permanent, affordable, and supportive housing. Thank you, each and every one of you, that have helped us to become what we are and who have joined us tonight in the celebration of this anniversary. As has already been made the point, I am in fact not the president of Veterans House Canada. Since lunchtime, that honor belongs to Sheila McIntyre. And I ask only that you support her, the new board, and homeless veterans across the country by helping us stay on the path to success. Thank you.
Learned a long time ago that you could either be teary and cry, or you could talk. You can't do both well at the same time. So Mark, as I pause for a second to get my back together, thank you for that. And thank you for your commitment and to your leadership and your dedication. It has been an honor to be on the board the past year and a half with you. Thank you, Mark. I would now like to draw your attention to the screen behind me for a pre-recorded message from Suzanne Lee, speaking to the origins of Veterans House Canada and the founding role and vision of the Multi-Faith Housing Initiative.
From the sunny Scottish Highlands. Tonight, you are gathered in Ottawa for a milestone celebration. 5 years since the Andy Carswell building in Carswell campus opened its doors, moving from vision to reality. So it seems appropriate that while we are celebrating, we should take a moment to remember how improbable this all once seemed. Veterans House began with a quiet conversation. My predecessor, Sue Evans, leaned in and told me there was a problem: homelessness in the Canadian veteran population. And if Multi-Faith Housing Initiative wanted to do something about it, she knew someone who could help. Her daughter, Bronwyn Evans, then Executive Director of Truly Patriot Love. My first reaction? The same that many of you likely had. That can't be right. It felt counterintuitive. After all, how could those who served our country end up without a home? Surely there were systems in place. But all it took was a closer look to understand the truth. And I've always believed something very simple. If you don't like the truth, you change it. So that's just what we set out to do. What followed was not just a project, it was a movement. We built an army of action, people, partners, believers, each of you playing a vital role. Because this wasn't a single lock with a single key, it was a chain of barriers, and each one required someone to step forward and help break it open. And you did. Now, anyone who has led a housing initiative, especially one as bold and untested as this, knows you hear the word no more often than you ever thought possible. No, it won't work. No, it's too complex. And my favorite of all, no, it's not our area of responsibility. But within that chorus of no, there were a few extraordinary and courageous yeses. And those yeses changed everything. So I hope you'll bear with me while I thank some of the key early speakers of the word yes. First off, yes, this is important. Let's do it. To the founding organization of Veterans House Canada, the Multi-Faith Housing Initiative. You said yes when it mattered most. And yes, I may have pushed you, perhaps even frightened you a little at times. But in the words of the late, great Nelson Mandela, courage isn't the absence of fear. It's feeling it and choosing to act anyway. And you did exactly that. You showed, once again, what is possible when a community comes together, not in words, but in action. And that is what makes MHI so special. Then, yes, we believe in you. To John Carswell, his family, and the CANSO team, your conviction, your thoughtful leadership, and your incredible generosity helped turn this vision into something tangible. You gave us the resources and financial support we needed to gain momentum, bring others to the table, and cross the finish line. Next, yes, we will be your partner. To the Royal Canadian Legion, you did more than help fund the work. You shared your knowledge and, importantly, your legitimizing presence. You opened doors, stood beside us, and kept our spirits up when others turned us away. Also, yes, we need to support this vision. To the commissionaires, the Governor-General Foot Guards, Canadian Forces Morale and Welfare Services, Gas Tops, and the Boeing Company. Your trust in us and belief in our mission was demonstrated thoroughly with your generous and enthusiastic financial support. I say enthusiastic because you didn't just write a check and walk away. You stayed for the relationship. You committed to the vision. And yes, we need this in Canada. To the politicians, I have been frequently known to say that this project would have died many times over if not for the tremendous political support we received. Former MP General Andrew Leslie, MP Mona Fortier, the Mayor's office, starting with Jim Watson and continuing with Mark Sutcliffe, and City Councillors, former and current, Catherine McKenney, Jody Middick, Steve DeRoche, David Hill, Matt Luloff, and Ralston King. You are the best examples of people who get into politics for the sole reason of serving their community and making Canada better for everyone. Because Veterans House Canada is not just about housing, it's about belonging. It is dignity restored. It is a place where veterans can rebuild trust, reconnect with community, and begin again, surrounded by people who understand their journey. Given that, I want to say to the incredible Alan Malawishin and the Veterans House Canada team, Veterans House Canada remains one of the greatest achievements of my life, and watching it grow, seeing every life changed, every door opened, every new building rise, fills me with an immense sense of pride and hope for the future. Thank you for taking this baton from me and from MHI and continuing the marathon. Because this is a marathon, it is definitely no sprint. I could not have asked for better people to do this work. I am grateful every day for all of you and for the important and demanding work you continue to do on behalf of veterans. 10 years ago, this was an idea. 5 years ago, this idea became a home, a community, a proof point that Canada can do better, and now must do better because it knows how. My final thank you goes to everyone in the room tonight. You didn't just support a project, you changed a reality. And that is something worth celebrating. So please, enjoy this evening. Take pride in what you've built, because it matters deeply. I miss you all, and I could not be more proud. I remain your greatest cheerleader. Thank you all.
And of course, a warm and heartfelt thank you to Suzanne for her incredible work and dedication to our country's veterans. As you have heard over the course of the evening, our work isn't done yet. As we look to the future, I would like to invite Alan back to the podium to reflect on the last 5 years and provide us on an update on the National Expansion Initiative, specifically what is happening in my hometown of Edmonton and some of our other upcoming projects. Molly.
Yeah, sorry, me again. 5 years, right? Amazing how quickly 5 years has gone by. Despite the pandemic, the Andy Carswell building filled quickly, and we have been full ever since. 82 formerly homeless veterans have now called the Andy Carswell building their home. (745) Mickinac Road, Ottawa, Ontario, K1K 5A7 is more than just an address. It is a permanent address that those homeless veterans can now call their home. With a permanent address, they can apply for driver's license, they can apply for bank accounts, they can apply for VAC support, they can do their taxes, right? The power of a permanent address can't be overstated. It's more than just a building. So 82 have housed so far. Those that aren't aware, there's only 40 rooms there. So obviously some people do move on. But what's sad is first of all, they're coming from across Canada. We've got veterans there from BC, from Atlantic Canada, from Toronto, from Quebec, who have moved to the Andy Carswell building. And there's still a long wait list. Wayne can pull out his phone right now and show you the number of contacts he has of people that are looking to move into something like the Andy Carswell building. But we are the only charity in Canada that provides the permanent, affordable, supportive housing for homeless veterans. It's sad that we need to exist, but I'm happy that we do. It's not just statistics, it's real lives, it's real impact. One of the great parts of my job, being the fact that our headquarters is here in Ottawa, is I get to go see the Andy Carswell building and see the team down there and talk to the veterans and get to know them and see some of the direct impacts, the lives that we've changed. And I would encourage anybody that hasn't been there to come for a visit. It's real, it's true. Now, I'm not going to tell you a bunch of stories from our veterans. They're going to tell you.
Veterans, especially those who are formerly unhoused, occupy a really unique space in the homelessness community. These people have given their time, blood, sweat, mountains of effort to the Canadian Armed Forces, and for them to fall into homelessness and unhoused situations is an honest tragedy.
My name is Michel Morin. I was a Royal Canadian Dragoon.
My name is Bill Eaton. I was a weapon technician.
My name is Andre Junot, ordinary seaman. My name is James. I joined the military to be an infantry, but my passion is being in the mess hall cooking. It's not only important, it's absolutely essential for veterans to have their own place.
I moved into a situation where I went from having a roommate for 8 years to him dying, me losing my place. You're not meant to be alone, right? So things started deteriorating pretty quickly. And then Veterans House came.
The systems in place that they trusted to support them failed them at maybe their most crucial moments. For a space like this, like Veterans House to exist, it shows them that that system is still there, that it's still wanting to pick them up when they need that help and provide them a space for not only them to recover, but to flourish.
I've been here for 3 months. This is the best version I've ever had of myself.
Living here, at least I have a door. I can lock the door. I have a washroom, a kitchen for myself. There's a lot of activities here. Today we had a writers group, which is you learn to write about your adventures, whether in the army or whatever you were.
Instead of being by myself, I've got other adventurers here to associate with. There's a common room here that we all meet, gather.
The other program we have here is a dog program, which a lady comes up and lets us take care of the dogs for an hour.
This place is awesome. Like, we have a meal every Wednesday. There's activities every day of the week. They literally help me out with a shelter that they just know how to treat a person like a person.
So Veterans House to me is in freedom. I wouldn't be looking forward to things like guitar lessons. I mean, I can't imagine I'm 70 years old and taking guitar lessons. This is amazing. I'm playing baseball. Like, not once, but twice a week. This is, unheard of. I wouldn't have thought of this.
With gentle encouragement and support of a house like Veterans House, there are many, many veterans out there who will use that as a springboard to bring success to communities, to help others find their own success. When you invest in a building like that, yes, you're investing in 40 tenants, but you're investing in 40 tenants' potential. Supporting a Veterans House makes a big difference, not just in an individual's life, but in a larger community.
That it is real, the impacts are real. Now, the Andy Carswell building wasn't the end state, it was just the first step. It was the proof of concept. Is it needed and does it work? And both those answers are resounding yes. Veteran homelessness is an issue not for the National Capital Region, but for the entire country. MHI always had the vision that they knew that if this was to work, they'd have to give it up. And again, I already talked about that and the courage and the trust they put in us. And so we're taking the success of the Andy Carswell building and replicating it across the country. I'm thrilled, to announce, and everybody's kind of alluded to it, that we have our second home opening this year, 9th of November, in Edmonton. Thanks to land from the City of Edmonton, funding from all 3 levels of government, and a very generous donor base, we've been able to take this on and again, ready to open 9th of November. But as alluded to, again, that's not the end either. We need to go coast to coast. And so we are in active discussions currently with the City of Toronto, the City of Halifax, the City of Victoria and surrounding areas. Right? The ACB is not the end state, it is the launch point, and we're going across the country. I'm hoping that later this year, we'll have some announcements to make, so please stay tuned. But on top of that, we're not resting on our laurels. This assumes success. So as laid out, believe it or not, 15 years ago, we wanted, by 2035 buildings. I think we're on track to do that. But what's next? We are not the solution to veterans' homelessness. We're just part of the solution. So where are those gaps? What else needs to be done? And so our development committee is actually already taking on a strategic review. What do we do next? Do we go wider, deeper, smaller, more specific, focus on women's, veterans, families? What do we do? Where's that gap that needs to be filled? Because this is not the end. When we're done 5 homes, that's not the end. We're still going to be there. Now, based on the needs, as we'll start looking at discussions, and again, the board will have this discussion next year at the AGM and really look at what is next. Because again, we're here to serve veterans from coast to coast.
My name is Suzanne Lee, and I'm the Executive Director of Multi-Faith Housing Initiative, and today we are installing a portion of a PBY cockpit, a Carswell plane which did search and rescue during World War II and after World War II as well. And we are installing a portion of the cockpit here at Veterans House, which is the first of its kind ever housing community for formerly U.S. veterans. The plane has been donated by Carswell Investment Council and the Carswell family.
My dad was an Air Force officer and a pilot, and he flew an aircraft called the Carswell, which is right here. After the war, my dad flew it on northern mapping with 408 Squadron in Ottawa, and then he did search and rescue.
In 1956, I can't remember the month, we were told that a weather ship out of the Pacific, about 500 miles away from Vancouver Island, had a chap on board who had a brain injury, and he had to be medicated right away. And they wanted to know if we could go. Well, the weather was quite bad, and it was a bit rough out there. Fueled the ship just enough to get out there and back, and so it wouldn't be too heavy. So first thing in the morning, after dawn, we took off our Carswell, and we flew out to the weather ship, and it was fairly choppy out there, but the wind was blowing in the correct direction, and everything seemed to be okay. So we told them that we were going to land, and we landed into wind about a mile away from this weather ship, and fairly rough water. And then a lifeboat came out with his man on board, and the lifeboat was going up and down, and the council was going up and down, and we finally practically threw the man on board, and then got away from the lifeboat and turned into the wind. Fortunately, we were flying almost parallel to these large waves, so we took off. We opened the throttles, got the aircraft onto the step, and then fired off all 4 JATO bottles and took off straight into the air. Apparently, they made a bit of a fuss about it, and my boss thought that it was kind of a dangerous trip and so forth. Eventually, I ended up by getting this medal from the Queen. It was a distinguished flying cross.
The plane is actually very symbolic when you think of doing search and rescue. You have soldiers who've been down, and they would pluck the surviving airmen out of the cold English Channel and bring them home to safety. And that's very symbolic of our building, which is taking people off the streets, homeless veterans off the streets, and bringing them into a place of safety and support.
Cancel Investment Council and the Carswell family both are strongly committed to the Veterans House Initiative, believing that it is a meaningful and worthwhile way to give back to our veterans in need, which is exactly what Andy Carswell would want us all to do.
There are a lot of veterans that only do 2 or 3 years service that don't have any, they don't seem to have any help at all. And that bothers me a bit. A Veterans House is one way to address that. I don't mind having my name on something like that.
I think that was an amazing video, really telling the story, and to see and hear Andy Carswell talk. And now his name lives on at the Andy Carswell building. So the Andy Carswell building, we just, like most military people, we short up ACB, right? You always make an acronym out of it. So we call it ACB, but Andy Carswell, who you just saw. So who was Andy Carswell? And Colin, if you'll permit me, I'm just going to talk a bit about your granddad for a bit. So just imagine the life lived back in the day. So imagine being a 19-year-old from Toronto, flying a Lancaster bomber, like the one in the background there, in 1943, bringing war to Nazi Germany. Now imagine being shot down on your 4th mission, being captured, and interned in a POW camp in northern Germany. Now imagine successfully escaping twice, only to be recaptured twice. Now imagine at the end of the war being on a forced death march, heading west away from the Soviet troops, trying to get close to the Western lines. That's what Andy did. He got out of the Air Force and got restless. Less than 5 years later, rejoined the Air Force. But of course, that transition from his life in the military and POW to civilian life was tough. And that's a lot of the challenge we have with our veterans today, is that transition from military to civilian life. Because most didn't have a civilian life as an adult. Most of us only know the military as an adult. So Andy rejoined the Air Force. And as you saw in the video, started flying the Carswell amphibian aircraft, doing search and rescue. And he talked about the one rescue he did. He actually did 2 rescues, 2 heroic rescues. As where the Air Force crossed by Her Majesty in 1956. Only 1 of 11 Canadians ever to have that done. So he continued to serve his country in the forces and then with the government, all while raising a family, including his son John. Now John followed in his father's footsteps and also joined the RCAF and became a navigator. He went to RMC and served just shy of 12 years. And then John went back to school, started in the financial sector, and in 1997 formed Carswell Investment Council Incorporated, named after the aircraft his father flew. John grew his business, he did pretty well. But with his success came opportunities to give back. Led by John, the Carswell family and the Carswell family of companies were vital to the construction of the Andy Carswell building, as well as the birth of VHC, and continue to support our national expansion. It's generosity beyond words. John unfortunately could not be here tonight. I'm still kind of ticked off at him, to be honest, Colin. But we're thrilled to be joined by Colin, his son, and Mary Pierre, his daughter-in-law. So thank you so much for coming here tonight. Having you here is truly special in a bunch of ways, and personally, because it's a small world. Colin and I actually served together in CJOC before I even really knew about Veterans House Canada. Just shows how small the world is in the military. As you saw in the video, it was an honor to have Andy Carswell here at the Cornerstone Lane. Sadly, he was never able to visit the completed project as he passed away in 2021. But I think he would have been pretty pleased how it turned out. I'd like to thank you once again, and I'd like to ask Colin to come forward and say a few words on behalf of the Carswell family, and Nicholas Desjardins on behalf of CANSO.
Ladies and gentlemen, friends, distinguished guests, Canadian Armed Forces veterans, Veterans House staff, multi-faith housing staff, welcome, thank you, and congratulations on the historic milestone. So first of all, I apologize, I did not go with the family tradition and join the Air Force, but it's nice to see some regimental support. General Kennedy, thank you for wearing your tie. I didn't know that was going to happen. On behalf of the Carswell family, my father John, my mother Kim, sisters Rachel and Natalie, and my wife Mary Pierre, and side note, this is our first night out in a while. We have an 11-week-old at home, so we are here. And I know Andy would have been thrilled about the possibility of one of his another great-grandchild joining the CAV. My family wishes they could be present and would like to thank everyone for being here. So we couldn't have planned a better occasion for our first date night after our 11-week-old than this. The connection between Andy Carswell and the Veterans House is meaningful because it reflects the values he embodied throughout his life: service, resiliency, humility, and compassion. It is fitting that a home dedicated to dignity, respect, and a community for veterans bears the name of a man who devoted so much to his country and assisting others. Andy's wife Dorothy, my grandmother, recently passed away in October at the young age of 104. Yeah. During her last few weeks, she would continue to ask my father and my mother about the Veterans House to get updates. She was so proud to have her name and her husband's name attached to something so great like this. Congratulations to everyone, it's a big night. Congratulations on the 5th anniversary. This milestone reflects the dedication and compassion of everyone who has helped make it a true support mechanism for veterans that need it over the last 5 years, and supporting over 80 veterans. It stands as a place of dignity, stability, and a true support tool for Canadian Armed Forces veterans who have faced hardship after completing their service to our great country. In closing, I would like everybody to raise a glass, if you have one, to Oh.
Sorry.
Oh.
Just 2 seconds. Colin, we just have to pass out the drinks yet.
Oh.
Yeah, there's drinks being passed around for this toast. So if you want to grab one as they're coming around, please.
Nick, you want to come up and say a few words?
Come on up.
It's actually that's my specialty, is to fill these voids. I just want to say on behalf of CANSO, we all feel very blessed at CANSO for a number of reasons. Number one, obviously we've been very successful, but we are also very blessed to be working with great people, and I do not take that lightly. So, as we reflect, we're coming up on our 30th, we've always made it a point to give back. We feel so blessed that we support every organization that takes the time to contact us, and we mean it from the bottom of our hearts. I'm glad you didn't say it, so I'm going to say it, but what John would say today, and I can only say so because I've heard him say it before. What John would say is writing a check is easy. Anyone can write a check, right? But it takes organizations like Veterans House Canada and the people behind it to do the actual legwork. So on behalf of CANSO, I would like to thank you for all the work that you've done, and I wish you the best.
I'm going to get you to stand there for a second. I think we're still passing out some drinks here. There's still...
They call this, or you just stand up?
Oh, yeah. So we'll do this. While we continue to pass out those drinks efficiently, you need to be at my house. So my husband says, okay, feisty Neister, settle down. Get your own drink. True story. I do want to take a moment to thank you, Colin, and of course a huge thank you to John, who unfortunately could not be here with us this evening. Your family has simply left a legacy on this city. Your family has left a legacy across the country, and it's going to continue to expand, and we thank you for that. You have made a difference in the life of so many and in the hearts of so many veterans, and how important and special that is. So thank you to you and to your family. Thank you so much. All right, how are those drinks coming along? 2 minutes? All right, so you know what? We're going to hang tight for 2 minutes so you don't have to sit here and listen to me blabber on. We're going to get those drinks passed out, and then we're going to do our toast and our cake cutting. Give me 2 minutes, and we'll get the show on the road again. Thank you.
Thank you. Photographers never have senses of humor. Really? I think we do. Just saying. I'm just saying. I gotta take photos, but. Can do it at the same time?
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to move on to the toast part of the evening and the cake cutting. So I would like to invite Colin back to the podium. Forgive us, Colin. Yes, round two, please. Colin, come on up. Thank you so much.
It didn't. Yeah, I can start from the beginning. So again, now that everyone has filled up their glasses, I would like everyone to raise a glass to Molly, Mark, Suzanne, everybody at Multi-Faith Housing, all the staff at the Andy Carswell Veterans House who made this vision become a reality and whose tireless efforts have supported more than 80 veterans throughout the years. Thank you for your unwavering commitment, your compassion, and may this remarkable institution continue to serve, and I look forward to the 10-year. Cheers. Thank you.
I hope you didn't down at all. So let's call and thank it again. It's so special to have you and Mick here. And so the final toast before we do a ceremonial cake cutting, and please do come and look at the cake, is to say thank you to you. The reason we are here tonight is to say thank you to the donors, the supporters, everybody that has been behind us, that has believed in multi-faith housing and us, and as we go forward. So on behalf of all the board, all the directors that we've had, all the staff, both National and Carswell Building in Edmonton, I want to say thank you. Cheers.
All right, so I'm going to get Colin to head over to the cake, and I'm going to get Molly and Mark, Sheila, maybe you could join them as well, and we will cut our, look at that knife, sword, it's yours? Oh. We could savor some bottles of champagne with that baby. Probably not here, it's not a good idea. Pardon me? All right, that's impressive. All right, so here we go. We are going to cut the 5-year cake. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a wrap on the formal portion of our program, but just before I let you go, thank you once again for joining us. Please feel free to mingle, connect, and reflect on the impact that every single one of you have made on Veterans House Canada and all of those who have come through the doors. Again, we offer our sincere thank yous to the commissionaires for making this evening possible and the work that they do every day to support Veterans House. Thank you again to Minister McKnight for joining us, as well as MP Fortier and our city councillors for joining us this evening. Thank you for waving the flag for us and getting us in the doors in so many places. We appreciate all the work that you've done. A shout out to all of the volunteers who did this tonight, who worked so hard behind the scenes to put this event on. I also want to thank you, Baldwin, for the tech support, Tulips and Maple for the catering, our Aviation Museum staff, what a spectacular location to have an event, the RCMP Pipes and Drums and Dancers, yes. All of the volunteers who made tonight a reality. On your way home this evening, we'd like to offer you a small token of our appreciation for all that you've done for us in the form of a Veterans House pin. Please wear it with pride as we do. And of course, poppy seeds. One of the things that we do in our locations is poppy seeding, and you can take home a packet of seeds and do the same thing at your home as well. Please feel free to take one on the way out the door. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jalen Nye. It's been an honor to be your MC this evening, and I look forward to seeing many of you, hopefully some of you, in November in Edmonton. Thank you. Enjoy the evening.